Today, I would like to do a full DC Extended Universe ranking, now that the universe is coming to a close with the release of The Flash. I know you might be saying to yourself that there are still two DC movies coming out this year, but neither of them have been defined as to which universe they will end up in, the DC Extended Universe or just the DC Universe. And frankly, even if they were explicitly in the DC Extended Universe, they don't seem like they are worth waiting around for. Now, for the rules of the ranking. These were the DC movies that I went through my childhood with, so the ranking will for sure be affected by theater experiences, the amount of times I've watched a certain movie, and my opinion, because that's the point of this video, to share my opinion. The ranking will include all the DC movies from Man of Steel to The Flash, including the Peacemaker series, as well as discluding the Joker and the Batman, because those are in their own respective universes. Lastly, let me know your ranking in the comments so I can judge your movie taste, as I know you'll be doing the same to mine. Alright, let's get this ranking started. Coming in last place is 2017 Justice League. I won't have to spend much time dwelling on this movie because it has been ripped apart since its release. I honestly have done a pretty good job of removing it from my memory, so I'm proud of myself for that. It's also good that the movie is universally disliked, so it's a nice last place and we can all agree on it.
Yes! It was gross! Oh!
At number 14, we have The Flash, and it's weird to think that at one point I was excited for this. After watching the Snyder Cut and Flashpoint Paradox close together, I heard about the Flash movie and was hyped because we had Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne, a solid Justice League to support the Flash, and the director said he was inspired by Snyder and was going to make changes to his movie. But sadly, that's not what we ended up with at all. The movie has so much going for it visually, it just hurts your eyes to look at it for too long, and it doesn't look good. And the movie has so little going for it story-wise, your brain is just turned to mush by the end of it. The entire storyline of it is in the trailer. Coming in at number 13 is Wonder Woman 1984. This movie has gotten its fair share of grief, so I will focus on what I enjoyed about the movie. Wonder Woman has a great costume, and the movie poster is sweet. Let's go ahead and move on. Number 12. I do apologize for putting both Girl Boss movies back to back, but it's not my fault that they're allergic to being in a decent movie. The one thing I liked about it was Captain Boomerang's wanted poster, and maybe the Harley on roller skate scene just because it's unique. I'd say I have to rewatch it to know, but I don't see myself doing that.
Whitney! What? Whitney! Okay.
Next, Peacemaker, the HBO series. This show felt about like what it was, an HBO series. I liked Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad because he provided good humor, but as a main character, he acted more of like an incompetent preteen. Interesting enough, Vigilante was what Peacemaker started as, so they just kind of switched roles. I think James Gunn would be good at making music videos because that's what this show seemed like, an extended music video.
Lift Street Kids?
No, it says 11th Street Kids.
Dude, that's one of their best songs.
Yeah. I saw him in Finland when I was 14 during a year abroad. Got this right after.
Yeah, dude. You know what rocks it is. Sorry, Adabon. No Spyro Gyro or Kenny G for you.
Bringing in the top of the top 10, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Unlike Justice League, I didn't even try to erase this from my memory. It just left all on its own. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Wonder Woman made the movie worse. They should have just left Shazam dead and ended it there, and I would have liked it more. I just hate death fake-outs.
Hi, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was dead at the time.
Number 9, Suicide Squad. I didn't watch this movie until years after its release, so I heard plenty about it from the internet, and I was confused at the first half of the movie because I was thoroughly enjoying it, and then the second half gave me the aha moment, like, so that's why the movie gets hated on. But the first half is still pretty cool with Ben Affleck and Ezra Miller cameos, and I like the setup still. Maybe one day Air Cut can happen, but I won't hold my breath.
I'm gonna figure this out. Alright? It's over, Deadshot.
Alright, a little disclaimer, from here on out, these are all movies that I really enjoy, but one of them has to be last, so number 8 is Aquaman. I like the action and the plot, and especially Black Manta in this movie.
Wait! Help me, he's trapped! You can't leave him like that! Please!
The only thing holding it back was they took the ancient Atlantean feel from Justice League, then completely turned it into underwater Star Wars. Also, not enough William Dafoe action scenes. Like, he's in the movie. Just give him an action scene, please. Number 7, Wonder Woman. I don't have a ton of original thought towards this movie. I like the first 2 acts, but the third turns into a CGI fest. pretty typical critique of this movie. My only other comment I would make is that the squad of people she was with was severely underutilized. I would have been fine if this was like a Dirty Dozen type movie with a ragtag squad of World War I soldiers, but maybe that's just me.
Stay here. I'll go ahead.
Number 6, Black Adam. I really like the action in this movie, and I mean, I like it enough to ignore the corny little kid and the entire plotline that revolves around him. To everyone that said Dr. Fate was underutilized and should have survived for a sequel or whatever, the whole universe is getting rebooted, so joke's on y'all. I'm just glad we got to see him go full Dr. Fate mode before the reboot. Also, props to The Rock for getting Henry back, even if it didn't even matter. And now for the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Shazam. I really like the story of this movie. It is very well done. It actually has some funny moments, and they nailed the teenager and adult body story. It's just a fun movie to watch. However, the action is pretty bad, and there are some like random scenes that get overly dark, and it's like supposed to be a typical lighthearted movie. So the tone is a little messed up, but other than that, I really like it. Number 4 is The Suicide Squad, and this has got to be one of my favorite theater experiences I've ever had watching this on opening night. I love the characters in it, the humor and style were really good. I also think that certain action scenes were top notch. Idris Elba is a legend, and John Cena is a lot better in this than he was in his own show. The only place where it falters is its lack of rewatchability. The jokes start to lose their novelty pretty quickly. I've watched it 3 to 4 times, and every time I do, it lowers a little bit in the ranking.
Let's go to Jotunheim.
Now that we're in the top 3, it's pretty obvious which are coming next, but out of the Snyder trilogy, one of them has to come last, and for me, that's Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. Now, I love Batman v Superman as an introduction to this version of Batman. From the opening scene to the final fight, it is packed with a ton of story and great action. The reason this one is in 3rd is just the final fight with Doomsday. The graphics don't hold up as well as they do in a movie that's coming up next. The graphics are still good, but it just gets better. 2, Man of Steel. I remember watching this in theaters as a kid in elementary school, and I was bored out of my mind until the final half, because then they start to punch each other, and it's fun. But every time I watch this movie again, it gets better and better. Michael Shannon has got to be my favorite villain of all time, and the Smallville fight is 100% my favorite action scene in any movie. The only reason it's not 1 is because of my emotional connection with, number 1, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I did not always follow movies as closely as I do now, and I had a friend who told me about another cut of the Justice League, and I didn't think much of it, till the trailer popped up in my feed and I was like, is this what you were talking about? He's like, yeah. And I thought it looked pretty cool, so we made plans to watch it on its release date. So I walked into this with no context to why it exists or how it would be different or the background with the studio and Zack Snyder. I couldn't even tell you which DC movies Zack Snyder had directed at this point, and it blew my mind whenever I watched it. I fell in love with it instantly. Gonna be honest, I for sure shed a few tears the first 2 or 3 times I watched it during the Cyborg finale scene.
I'm not broken. And I'm not alone.
The journey that each character goes on is so personal, and the 4-hour plot makes it a slow burn that has a huge payoff with insane action scenes sprinkled throughout it. For the reputation Snyder gets for dark movies, this is 100% the most hopeful movie on the list. Every time I watch this movie, I walk away inspired and in a better mood than I walked in. So that's an easy number 1 for me. Alright, thank you guys for watching the video. I've been a DC fan my entire life, so it was a ton of fun making this video and reminiscing on all of these movies. For the future of this channel, I can see myself doing a little bit of DC content, but I'd like to focus mainly on older movies and pretty much anything that's before 1980, and maybe some DC animated content sprinkled in as well. But if that's something that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe.